There's a little fan over here, so it's nice and cool up here, too. Not the hot seat. Thank you, Chairman Keeble. I'm Justine Caldwell, and I'm running to join you as a colleague next session from House District 30, which is East Greenwich and a small sliver of West Greenwich. Some of you may remember me from last year, when in my testimony I urged you to listen to women, hear their stories, and to fairly represent the needs of half the population, even when they do not make up half of the members of this body. For the past year, I've been talking to voters and leaders in my district and leaders from around Rhode Island. I still believe what I said here last year, but I've heard from a lot of people since then, and I have some additional thoughts to contribute based on my experience as a candidate over the past 12 months. I've been listening to the debate over the Reproductive Healthcare Act for the past year. I know it didn't come to a vote, but I don't know why. None of my allies with whom I've worked on this issue know why. We haven't heard a full public explanation as to why this bill, so important to so many Rhode Island women and men, didn't merit a simple up or down vote. The closest thing we've heard to an explanation is that this bill isn't yet necessary, that Rhode Island women are currently protected under federal law, and so the legislature need not act until and unless that changes, but that if it does change, we are told we can count on you. I want to address that argument head on. Let me tell you what we hear when we hear that argument. We hear that you expect us to rely on the federal government for protection, that our state is not willing to protect us. We hear that we should rely on Congress with anti-abortion majorities in both chambers, rather than relying on you. That we should rely on the Trump administration to protect us. We hear that you expect women to rely not on you, but on Donald Trump's Supreme Court, on the Supreme Court recently joined by ultra-conservative Neil Gorsuch to protect us. That's what my East Greenwich Town Democratic Committee heard when one of our office holders came to stump with us last year, that he didn't want to act. He assured us that he'd be there for us if we really needed it. But the women in that room, many of them activated by Trump's election, several who are running for office for the first time in the 2018 election, were not interested in these assurances. They, along with some of the men, asked him over and over why, if he was truly willing to stand with us on this issue. He wasn't willing to stand with us in public today. Just a few months later, the town committee in East Greenwich, not a town, as I'm sure you know, known as a hotbed of radicalism, passed its first ever resolution supporting a piece of legislation. That resolution supported the Reproductive Healthcare Act. Last year, over 4 million women participated in Women's March demonstrations. Those demonstrations were triggered by the election of Donald Trump and by our knowledge about how women might be and have been treated under a Trump presidency. An unprecedented groundswell of women are running for office around the country. Women like me, awakened by the results of the 2016 election to the knowledge that if we wanted our point of view represented and our lives and livelihoods to be protected, we need to step into the arena and win our seats at the table to protect ourselves and represent our sisters and our daughters. We know what we need to do, and now we're doing it. And it's working. 1 in 4 women in the United States will have an abortion in her lifetime. So the odds are one of these women is someone from your family, someone from your neighborhood, someone important to you. I hope you can understand that our state leadership telling 1 in 4 women we must rely on the Trump administration for protection because our state government is unwilling to act is unpersuasive, bordering on offensive, and it's dangerous. Why can't we rely on the people who represent us at the State House to protect us today? And if we can't rely on you to protect us today, because you prefer to pass the buck to Donald Trump's Washington, how can we be so sure that we can rely on you to protect us tomorrow? One change at the Supreme Court, or one case before the current Supreme Court, and Rhode Island's laws criminalizing abortion could be back in effect. Every day, the laws that you control render doctors and possibly women criminals under Rhode Island law. Those are our laws. They belong to Rhode Islanders, and you control them. You should make our laws in line with our state's values. Your inaction leaves us criminals under Rhode Island law and leaves us indebted to Donald Trump's Washington for relieving us of criminal liability. I've been campaigning for a seat in this House for some time, and as I've talked with civic leaders and gone door to door talking with ordinary registered voters, I've talked a lot about reproductive rights, and I can tell you this. Not a single voter has ever told me, but Roe versus Wade is the law of the land, so it's not necessary for you to take action. I'd rather you did nothing instead. Not one voter. Everyone who supports the right to legal abortion thinks that our state and that you should take immediate action to protect it. As I was preparing this testimony on Sunday night, my 6-year-old son wandered in with his 3-year-old sister right behind him and asked me what I was doing. And as soon as he heard the word State House, he screamed extended day, because he knows that when I have to come to the State House, he gets to stay at school for a long time and play with his friends. So I try not to take that too personally. But then he asked me what I was going to be doing, and I told him that I was going to be explaining that women and girls need to have health care just as much as men and boys. That's what this is all about. This is about our ability to go to the doctor and decide in conjunction with our doctors what kind of care we need. Different patients and different doctors make their healthcare decisions in different ways. That's how it's supposed to work. That is why so many women are running. That is why I am running, to be a leader who serves and advocates and protects the rights of women in their time of need, not to leave them in Donald Trump's hands. Like many healthcare decisions, this particular decision can be a difficult one. But I can tell you, under any circumstances, it's a life-changing decision. Whether to have a child is one of the most consequential decisions any woman could ever face. We as leaders should offer women every possibility and opportunity to make this decision for themselves, from education and training that help men and women form healthy relationships free from coercion, to easier and more affordable access to effective contraception, and to safe and legal access to abortion. Thank you.